There's a lot of fearsome creatures in the midst of the woods, but a wampus cat, that would give even a grizzly a hard time. So what is a wampus cat? What can it do? Where are they said to be? Where did they come from? Are they even real? And what should you do if you ever encounter one of these beasts? There are multiple variations to the origin of the wampus cat. They vary from a woman being caught spying on a group of elders while they performed a special ritual, all the way to a woman turning herself into one to take revenge on someone who did her husband harm. So let's go over the stories and then we'll check out what they are said to be capable of. The Cherokee version starts with the woman, her husband, and an evil spirit known as a wa, or in a way we can understand it, the spirit of madness. I'm going to read this directly from the source and I'll link it in the description if you'd like to see more. Standing Bear, or Great Fellow, depending on the story version, was the strongest, fastest, sneakiest, smartest, and most respected brave in all of Cherokee Nation, and he was chosen to do battle with the demon. As he walked from his village, the shamans blessed him, and the war chiefs gave him many fine weapons with which to slay the beast, and, on the edge of town, his wife Running Deer bid him a final farewell. She would never see him the same way again. Weeks went by, and there was no word from Standing Bear. Suddenly, late one night, the stricken brave came running back into camp, screaming and clawing at his eyes. One look, and Running Deer knew her husband was no more. With time, he would be able to pick berries and work in the fields with the young girls and the unmarried widows, but he would never be any good as a husband again. And by Cherokee law, that meant he was dead. Standing Bear's name was never again mentioned, but Running Deer had loved her husband and she wanted revenge. Running Deer went to the shamans and they gave her a booger mask, a bobcat's face, and they told her that the spirit of the mountain cat could stand against the Awa, but she must be the one to surprise the demon. The war chiefs gave her a special black paste, which when rubbed on her body would hide her scent as well as her body. She kissed her former husband on the forehead, his blank eyes staring, and heading off to seek her revenge. Running Deer knew the woods as well as she knew the village, and she ate sweet berries to keep up her strength over the many days, but still, she came across no sign of the Awa. Then, late one night, she heard a creature stalking down by the stream. As she crept slowly towards the creek, she heard a twig snap behind her. She spun and just as suddenly realized how quickly it could have been the end of her. Behind her, a wily fox darted across the pathway. If that had been Awa, I would be mad now, the widowed Cherokee woman thought to herself as she continued towards the creek. At the edge of the creek, she saw footprints which did not belong there, and her former husband's breastplate lay at the edge of the water. As she followed the prints upstream, she saw the demon. Its hulking form lurched hideously over the water, drinking from the pristine mountain spring. The Awa hadn't seen her. Running Deer crept ever closer, and just as she felt she could bring herself no closer, she sprang. The Awa spun and saw the cat spirit mask and began to tear at itself as the spirit of the mountain cat turned its powerful magic back on itself. The Awa tumbled backwards into the pool, and Running Deer immediately turned on her heel and ran as fast as she could back to the village, never once looking back. When she arrived home, she sang a song to herself, a quiet song of grief for her husband, but also of joy for the demon's banishment. The shamans and war chiefs declared Running Deer the spirit talker and home protector. The second version of how this creature came to be was that a young woman was watching in on a sacred ceremony where women were prohibited. She arrived early in the council's tent and hid beneath the pelt of a mountain lion. As they began their ceremony, one of the men saw the pelt moving and he went to take a closer look, which is when they found the woman. Because she was spying in on the sacred ceremony, all of the men were really ticked off, so they decided to punish her by transforming her into a ferocious creature, the wampus cat. There's various origin stories and forms of how to spell it, but in just about every version, it's always a woman that gets turned into this fierce creature. Now, whether or not this is real, I don't think is for anyone to say. There's plenty of stories across the entire world where people are turned into monsters of all sorts, and this one is no different. However, whereas werewolves are sort of always depicted in a near exact fashion, this one has two appearances, one of which is just a mountain lion with 6 legs, 2 front paws on each side, and the back legs remain the same. This is the one you'll probably see the most since it's just so visually striking, and the second is simply a very large black cat, which makes me think of other legends of unnatural beasts, such as the Beast of Bladenborough. The Beast of Bladenborough is about the events when an unusually large cat began killing livestock and terrorized the town of Bladenborough for quite some time. It even managed to inexplicably drain the blood and killed a reported 60 goats in a single night. So perhaps this was an example of the wampus cat in action, or maybe something else. I'll link that video at the end of this one if you'd like to hear more about it, but until we end up catching a wampus cat, this will remain a mystery, and where mysteries lie, adventure awaits. If you like what I do and you want to help support the channel, then the best way to do that is by joining the community on Patreon. I post my scripts and videos early, and I've even done a few videos that you can only find on Patreon. But if you're not into that, then just check out this video that YouTube seems to think you'll love, and I'll see you there.